A warm greeting. Today is Friday, August 2nd, 2024. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia. In this video, I will be giving an update on the potential cyclone number 4 of the season, which was designated by the National Hurricane Center today and is related to Invest 97. This potential cyclone is associated with a strong tropical wave currently crossing over Cuba and is expected to reach the Gulf of Mexico waters by Saturday morning, where it is projected to form a tropical depression and eventually Tropical Storm Debby as it moves towards the west of the Florida Peninsula. Today, some tropical storm warnings have been issued for South Florida, and we also have a tropical storm watch for the western part of the Florida Peninsula. In the infrared satellite image, we can see that potential cyclone number 4 of the season is generating strong thunderstorms over Cuba. However, it remains disorganized because the circulation is still over land. Once it reaches the Gulf of Mexico waters, it should begin an organization process due to the very warm sea surface temperatures in this area and favorable atmospheric conditions for strengthening. Here you can see the latest projections from the specialized trajectory models. In approximately 18 hours, the center of circulation is projected to move into the Gulf of Mexico waters, and by Saturday night or Sunday morning, it should make landfall over the western part of the Florida Peninsula just north of the city of Tampa. Then, at the beginning of next week, it will be moving parallel to the southeastern coast of the United States, affecting coastal sectors of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. While it is expected to make landfall as a tropical storm in Florida, it is worth mentioning that it could strengthen into a hurricane as it nears South Carolina or North Carolina. Let's look at the intensity projections. Generally, the models agree that it should strengthen over the next 48 hours as it approaches western Florida, and it is projected to make landfall as a moderate or strong tropical storm. When the center of circulation reaches the Atlantic waters, it should start to strengthen again. Although the National Hurricane Center maintains it as a tropical storm when it approaches South Carolina or North Carolina, there is a possibility that it could rapidly strengthen into a hurricane, and I will show you these projections in the coming minutes. But first, I wanted to show you the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center, just updated now at 5 p.m. Note that they continue to project that by Saturday afternoon, we should already have a tropical depression. Also, note in blue the tropical storm warning and the tropical storm watch extending from Sarasota to Florida's Big Bend. The National Hurricane Center projects that by early Sunday morning, it should be a weak tropical storm and continue strengthening as it moves north-northeast, passing just west or over Tampa by Sunday afternoon. Then, during early Monday morning, the center of circulation should enter northern Florida as a moderate tropical storm, with maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour. In the latest forecast, the National Hurricane Center projects that the center will pass very close to or over the coast of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. If it maintains this trajectory, it could remain weaker as a tropical storm, but if it moves slightly to the right, it could encounter favorable conditions to strengthen into a hurricane. Although the forecast is highly reliable over the next 3 days, there is still considerable uncertainty about whether the center of circulation will move over the Atlantic waters or make a turn and enter South Carolina or North Carolina, potentially as a hurricane during the middle and end of next week. Let's look at some of the model projections. Here we have the American model, the GFS. By Saturday afternoon, it shows a tropical depression forming just southwest of Florida. And note how the model projects it will strengthen as it crosses over Tampa and Orlando, passing through the region as a moderate tropical storm. The GFS projects that the center of circulation will enter Florida by Sunday morning and be back over the Atlantic waters by early Monday morning, where it could again strengthen. Note that in the latest projection, the American model has a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane passing very close to or over the coast of North Carolina by Wednesday morning. So we will be monitoring the next runs and also the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. In general, the ensemble of the American model agrees with this idea, crossing over north-central Florida and passing very close to the east of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, eventually strengthening into a strong tropical storm or hurricane. Although most members have a northeast trajectory, some of them show an erratic path where the center could enter South Carolina or North Carolina by the end of next week. So again, there is a lot of uncertainty, especially between Wednesday and Friday of next week. We also have the European model projection. It shows a tropical storm developing in the Gulf of Mexico waters, entering the Big Bend by Monday morning, and then strengthening south of South Carolina. In this case, it has a strong tropical storm or hurricane, and as you can see, unlike the GFS model, it has a trajectory moving this future cyclone overland in Georgia and South Carolina. This is a significant difference from what the GFS model shows, which is why we cannot rule out that a hurricane may affect South Carolina or North Carolina by the end of next week. This uncertainty can be seen in the ensemble of the European model, with some members showing a northeast trajectory over the Atlantic waters or even affecting regions of Virginia, Delaware, and New Jersey, while others maintain the system with a slow and erratic movement to the east of South Carolina, so we cannot rule out landfall. In general, The German model agrees with this projection, showing a moderate or strong tropical storm approaching Florida's Big Bend by Sunday night. The UK model also shows the center of circulation entering the Big Bend by Monday afternoon. Let's talk a bit about the anticipated effects across the southeastern United States. For Florida, between 3 to 8 inches of rain are expected, with some sectors seeing up to 10 inches, so there is a high risk of flooding throughout the state this weekend. Then, as it moves parallel to the coast of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, depending on the trajectory it takes, it could leave significant accumulations of between 4 to 14 inches of rain. Therefore, there is a high risk of flooding for the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and the maximum rainfall estimates could vary significantly over the next few days, depending on whether it moves northeast over the Atlantic or remains stationary over the region and makes landfall by the end of the week. In terms of wind gusts, some tropical storm force winds could affect central and northern Florida, with winds between 35 to 55 miles per hour this weekend. So, we are talking about weak or moderate tropical storm conditions. Although the wind does not seem to be a major problem for Florida, once it moves parallel to the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and if it strengthens, more significant effects could be felt along the coast of these sectors. For now, we project tropical storm force winds affecting South Carolina and Georgia, while for the coast and east of North Carolina, tropical storm force winds are expected, but we cannot rule out that it may strengthen into a hurricane, leading to more significant wind gust effects over 75 miles per hour. Once again, remember that the long-term forecast still has high uncertainty, so I ask residents of North Carolina and South Carolina to stay alert to forecast changes. Besides the wind and rain, there is also a moderate risk of tornadoes forming over Florida, as the center moves to the west of the coast and for coastal sectors of Georgia. So, stay tuned to weather bulletins. We also expect waves and storm surges affecting the coast of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, with surges between 1 to 3 feet, and in some places, between 3 to 6 feet. This could cause some coastal flooding and erosion, putting some structures at risk. In general, the effects expected with this future cyclone for central and northern Florida are moderate effects with some tropical storm force winds, accumulated rainfall between 4 to 6 inches, which could cause some local flooding, and the possibility of more significant effects across the coast of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, of course, depending on how strong it becomes in this region. Well, that's all for the update of this forecast. Here at Hurricane Info, I will continue with this coverage, recording at least 2 videos a day to keep you informed in the southeastern United States and mainly in the state of Florida. So you don't miss any of the videos, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Go to the bottom of the video to the red button that says subscribe, click on it, and then click on the bell to get notifications when I record new videos. Well, I say goodbye for now, and I will see you tomorrow morning. See you later.